Welcome back. Today I had the chance to sit down exclusively with one of the two richest men in the world, billionaire Carlos Slim. I had one mission from this interview, to find out if he was willing to invest right now. Listen closely. Oftentimes it's not what people say, but what they don't say. A lot of people look at you as the Warren Buffett of Latin America, that when everybody else is running in panic, you step in and you buy. I have to think that this kind of market and this kind of economy is one that's suited to your kind of investing. Is that true? And what are you doing right now?
I think that's a very difficult moment. The problem is the worst I had seen in my life. It's a financial pandemic that is affecting all the world. And I am very worried about the economic consequences, the real economy. Because now we have the problem in the financial economy. But it looks that the consequences in the real economy can be very important, and I think governments and everyone need to work in this direction to avoid the social consequences of a big problem like this. No?
Is enough being done right now?
They are taking too much time. They are acting now in the right direction. I think the idea to buy assets was not very good. The idea to let Lehman create a problem because the people say, where can I put my money?
So they shouldn't have let Lehman fail?
You need to support not the company, not stockholders, but the system to avoid a systemic problem.
Still, back to my original question. In '82, when Mexico was falling apart, people were fleeing the country, you were buying assets that nobody else wanted and at very good prices that turned out to be very good investments over the long term. Do you have the same opportunity right now?
What we do, most of our investments are in our own companies. The companies we manage are in a healthy situation, but we also manage some investment funds, mostly Mexican paper. Now they are more open to invest outside. And these investment funds has a policy that when the markets are very low, they are heavy in equities. And when the markets are very high, doesn't matter that it go higher, the position of equities is very low. Let's say 35 or 40% in equities, and when the market is very low, they go 70 or 80% in equities. That's why they have moved in these parameters in some way.
And have they been doing that as a result of the decline?
No, now they are liquid. They are with a low position in equities, 40%, something like that. And by sure in the next years and months, especially in the next months or maybe in the next 2 years, we'll have a higher position in equities.
You notice he never said yes.
Yeah,
he never said yes. He wouldn't say no, I'm not, but he would never go into over and over again. Warren Buffett says he's buying right now. Would never commit or endorse that idea.
What's the real answer? Yeah, what's the answer?
It's too early.
Him?
I think he thinks it's too early. I spent 2 hours with him, and by the time it was over, it was very clear to me that he thought it was still too early to get in.
Well, that's if you infer from the last thing he said. He said when equities are high, they are low. When equities are low, they are high.
And they're low
And they're
right
low now, which suggests to me that he thinks equities are going to go lower.
Exactly.
And that he's going to have a better opportunity.
Well, and
anywhere from 2 months to 2 years from now.
Then that pits Buffett effectively against Slim, right? The two richest people in the world, and both have a very different view on the world. But the difference is that actually Warren Buffett's view is that you're still going to make money 5-10 years out. I think he's a bit more of a market timer. I think he likes to catch the bottom. He likes to think he can catch the bottom. Warren Buffett doesn't claim he can catch anything and just says, here, I'm going to go. And by the way, Warren Buffett, despite being as brilliant as he is on a timing function, has never been brilliant.
Yeah, that's not what he does.
Yeah,
he goes in and he buys and he holds his Coca-Cola for 35 years.
Now, Carlos Slim is one of the biggest holders of your company, Andrew.
I'm very proud to say that we have a long-term investor in the company at 6.4%. Who's saying that we're going to have a future, not only a future, but a good future.
Here's what he said about your employer. You recently took a big stake in the New York Times. Everybody knows the bad story. declining circulation, declining ad revenues. But you obviously see something there that made it worth investing in.
Well, I think it's a great newspaper, the best of the world, a great brand. And when you say newspaper, it has been done like this. But the business is not paper, it's not a paper factory. It's a news factory. And the news are coming by other media. And they are very advanced managing content and news in the digital area. No? It's not that you think what is declining is the paper, not the news. News, information, content, well, that's the success of Google. That's the success of many companies that are moving to digital services. Mm-hmm. And I think New York Times is doing a good job in the digital information area.
Are they going to be able to monetize it, though?
Excuse me?
Are they going to be able to monetize the digital version?
I suppose. Well, it's a challenge. And it's a special challenge in this situation because it's not a normal situation. It's a difficult situation.
There he's talking about the economy and the credit crisis. He's very worried about the economy.
Right.
But you see, you work at a news factory.
I do work at a news factory. But you know what? For two things. He's endorsing it, and if you look at the price, and listen, I'm not an insider, and I don't want to be telling you to go out and buy the stock, but we're at $9.72. That's what the stock is trading at today. Puts us at a market cap of $1.4 billion. I can tell you digital companies that make less revenue than we do, that have a higher multiple. So you can do the math yourself, and at some point, this thing has to turn.
Do you ever go home and tell your folks, I'm just really a factory hand, I work in a factory?
You know,
how does mommy feel about that? Or
sometimes when I go out to lunch, I say, and I see someone from the Times, I say, I'll see you back at the factory. So, yes.
It's interesting, though, also, now, obviously, his stake in the Times is a relatively recent one.
Yes.
Warren Buffett is and has been, for as long as I can remember, one of the largest holders of the Washington Post company.
Right.
So clearly he sees value.
Well, but I will say this, to the Washington Post credit, they are no longer a newspaper company, frankly. And actually, the comparison between the Washington Post and the New York Times are two different things. The Washington Post company now is Kaplan.
It's an educational
testing
company.
company, and it's a great business at that. But when you compare the two, it's an apple and an orange.
Yeah, just spent some money with Kaplan, by the way, for my son.
Oh, did you? They're expensive.
They're expensive. They're very, very expensive. Mr. Buffett got a little bit of that money, I guess you would have to say.